Amen. Lend me your ears and your umbrella. It's a wet one this morning, but it doesn't look to be too severe weather-wise, other than just wet. Anyway, for that, you know where to go, right? Say it with me loud and proud. Storm Track 360. Brandon and the crew will be keeping an eye on the sky to make sure that it's not going stupid. Anyway, how's everyone's Thursday, November the 20th going? Thankfully, Flip over here is keeping me up to date on all that. But I hope everyone's having a great day. The big thing we're going to talk about here in a few is your time. It's the most valuable asset you have, as well as the same for myself. I value time. Again, if I have a superpower, it truly is time management and organization. I'm working on getting this thing here. Hey, there I am. Pin that up at the top. And we'll all just have some coffee together to ensure that we work together to alleviate our potential loneliness that seems to be the biggest epidemic in the world right now. Because again, it seems to be the case. A lot of folks feel very lonely, and so this is part of my way of saying hello, and we're really not. Let's get together any way we can, even inside of these boxes, or out there in the wide open spaces, which are very soggy today. But yeah, like I said, we'll dive into talking about time as truly the only real asset that you have. That is just remarkably important, and many times, more often than not, um, we don't do we don't treat it with the respect it deserves, because it's one of those things like we'll get into that here in a minute. Anyway, what else going on in the world? Let's see. A lot, actually. It's so funny because if you're following, which you kind of don't have a choice because that's what gets fed to you all the time, but if you're following like the major news headlines, it's always like just one, maybe two stories. And it populates everything, seems to revolve around politics and everything. But did you know, as I was getting the stuff together to curate some headlines for the 72601life.com little headline blurb and weather forecast and all that, handy resource, I hope, and hope it continues to grow. That actually, okay, yesterday, it was yesterday, right? I had the opportunity to have a wonderful chat and conversation with my buddy Shirley over at Backstreet Trader. And with that said, we were talking about, there's just kind of weird. Everything's got kind of a weird feeling. Now, if you don't feel it, great, good for you. But if you do feel it, you're kind of like, what? Just things are uncomfortable. And then when I got home, it was weird because it was like too quiet. I don't know if you know what I mean when I say that, so I'll try to explain it. It's like Caitlin really summed it up well, that there was like just no ambient noise. It's like everything was as per normal. It's like you could have the television on, and my 3D printer was rolling, the HVAC unit was doing its thing. However, it was so quiet. It's like literally, like right now, I can hear the ambience more so than yesterday. It just wasn't there. It was weird. It was like, again, I can't describe it properly because it was just like empty. It was about the best I got. But now here's the thing. This morning, I decided to go on a test drive of the AI assistants I have set up with Grok, Gemini, and ChatGPT. And I was curious. I was like, what's the most interesting things that's happening right now? Because I asked for a 24-hour news recap, and I had gotten that, and it was all the same talking points of everything. Let's see. It looks like I got a message from somebody. And hey, I'll get back with you very, very soon. And so if you're watching, I hope you are. But no secrets revealed there. But anyway, I was like, okay, so what is it? What's the most interesting thing? Because it spit out the same things. I'm not even going to mention them because I'm bored with it. Distraction, distraction, distraction. So anyway, I'm like, well, let's see what's going down. And I got some interesting stuff. The one that was the most interesting, the other one's not so much. Well, that's kind of subjective, isn't it? Okay. The other one, okay, ChatGPT had recommended the most interesting thing that was happening right in the world right now. Here, I'll pull it over. get that a little bit more. All right, according to ChatGPT and the way it curates things, said that the biggest thing right now is what's happening with Ukraine and Russia. Okay, great. Then Google Gemini, on the other hand, well, it led with the interstellar comet flyby from 3i Atlas. Okay. And then also, but it wanted to muscle in with a little bit more than just the one, even though I asked for just one. The advancements in health and biotech, which sounds interesting. Sure. And the geopolitical and social flashpoints. Flashpoints. We got plenty of those. But here's the one that made me go, wait a minute, what? And it goes back to what I was talking about. And that's right here with Grok. No, that's the headlines that it gave me. But then that's when I asked it for what's the most interesting thing is the escalating global Earth changes and anomalies. Now, at first, I thought it was like going down the climate change narrative, but it's not actually. It's things that are happening, a cluster of simultaneous geological and atmospheric upheavals. If you're feeling weird, kids, that's why. This whole thing works together. That's not woo-woo, it's a fact, right? So, but Mount Rainier in Washington, earthquake swarm in California, Mount Samari eruption, global solar and atmospheric chaos, and then, of course, the human and animal reports. Now, that last one there's because I went through and I wanted to make sure, if you go down here, and I highly recommend this, if you're using any of the AI tools to curate information or get information, go back in and make sure you get a link to its source so you can double check and make sure that it's something real and it didn't just dream it up. So I went through and I did verify these stories, and these right here, the first five here, they were real sites, real reports from like within the past, say 36, 72 hours. But then like the last one here with the human and animal reports, that actually was like back in October. Still, there's nothing new under the sun. Everybody knows if the weather's going to get funky, normally your animals are going to tell you beforehand. So anyway, but yes, I found that very interesting because nobody talks about this stuff. Now, I mean, we're all into the wonderful, wacky world of being afraid of everything nowadays because that's how they do stuff. And it always has been. If it bleeds, it leads. But I found it interesting because I really haven't heard any of this talk. Seeing weird YouTube videos about strange anomalies in the sky that aren't necessarily the UFOs or UAPs or whatever they call them now, but that just weird things like the whole thing with the northern lights being in the southern skies. Bruh, that's weird. Okay. Um, it is. It's like I know at 51 years of age, that wasn't a thing that I was familiar with in the 5 decades I've been on the planet. So that was weird. But with so much happening at once, I wouldn't want to be the one to sound like, Jor-El on Krypton talking about the Earth is in peril. We might want to build a ship. No, Jor-El, you're an idiot. No, I'm not. You are. And we got Superman out of the deal. So what are you gonna do? Anyway, looking at it all though, it is kind of interesting because again, if you have been one of the ones over the past 3 decades following along with all the conspiracies out there and the crazy talk of things, one of the things that's always kind of like interested me and kind of like freaked me out a lot was the thing with like the super volcanoes, like the one that is underneath Yellowstone, from what we understand, which actually all of it kind of ties, well, it's like reflective of like all of the hot springs underground, like Hot Springs, Arkansas. So that's scary as all get out because, if it ever blowed up, we could have a problem because that'd change things. And I don't think geoengineering is going to fix that. But anyway, I don't know. Like I said, I'm not trying to go into the doom mode, but I found that interesting. And because those are those things. Again, the 72-hour tremor phase of Mount Rainier. Now, this one, I want to reach out to a friend of mine down in Australia to get her ground report there about the ash plume to 54,000 feet from Mount Samara. Or Samaru in India. What? In India? I thought it was on. Okay, yeah. So anyway, so it includes flight warnings from Australia's Volcanic Ash Advisory Center and evacuations of thousands. So that's pretty wild. But again, the Earth is a doing its thing. It's not just sitting there flat. I could be wrong. I don't know. I haven't been up that high to say from personal experience. But anyway, a lot of interesting things out there that go beyond and transcend just what is in the headlines. And I just found that interesting. I thought I'd share because you may not have heard either. So let me just kind of slide over here for a second, and I will get back to that message later. Um, anyway, what else is going on? I'm on day 2 of 8 for the Toys or Totems like awareness campaign, to where I've got the book on sale on the Kindle edition for $2.99, and I am seeing more traction over there. And in spite of it all, because again, I'm streaming live right now to Facebook and YouTube. Like, comment, share, and tell people, order the book, do things. It's appreciated. Seriously, I'm being facetious, but it is important. Excuse me. So with that said, it's like I like seeing the traction. I really, really do. I'm on a goal of 500. Let's go cold. 500 units sold. Okay, that's the goal for this 8-day period. Mainly because I want to really test the waters. Can you hear the barking? That Zuma, the Chiweenie? Yeah, he hates rain, which is what it's doing right now. But anyway, that's my goal. I'm going for like 500 units because I want to find methods that work, and then I'll share them with you. And that's what I do. I like helping people see their dreams come true. Seriously, and as long as it's written down, because otherwise, a dream not written down is wishful thinking. So write it down, turn it into a goal, and build a system to make it happen. That's what I'm doing with the meme campaign that already kicked off, and then there's going to be a video snippet thing coming soon, and as well as some other promotions as far as like doing signed copies, since people like that. I am coming to not be weird about it as much. And but yeah, I'll have signed copies available direct from me, that we can do that. And what else we got? That's kind of where I'm at right now. So going into day 2 of this, like I said, it's getting some action, but I don't believe that it's it is absolutely organic and like more direct pushes for myself, more so than just random willy-nilly stuff that I put out in a feed. Because as I've learned on day 1, don't put links. You put links, you're going to get slapped. And it was funny because actually this morning I was going to just stream directly to Facebook versus using Restream to go to both Facebook and YouTube at the same time, for the sake of seeing what the numbers would do. Because with Restream kind of being, well, it is a third party. What impact does that have? I don't know. Because again, my numbers are low, of course. I just started this thing. You don't know who I am. Some of you might. I appreciate you. You're the ones I want need to like, comment, and share the most. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see, and I'll share the results as we go. If there's something really like, oh wow, that worked great, then I'll definitely get you plugged into that. But then we'll recap on day 8, which is the November the 26th. Okay, fair deal. Next thing that I'm looking at here is the evergreen aspect of my services that I do offer select folk. As I was thinking about that, when it comes to the way things work throughout time, like the battle between radio and television. Newspaper was really off the table completely on this one. But one of the advantages of radio, when it was still like really a thing and a source that people were, it was their go-to, was the immediacy of radio. Say you had like weather happen. Well, it was just that easy and quick to be able to crack open the mic and warn people about what's happening, right? Because that's the way radio worked. Television was a little more problematic because they had more equipment and cameras to fire up and people to get suited up and all this other stuff, let alone being able to get out in the field as much. Because back in those days, I mean, the better stations would have like satellite trucks. Radio, we had like these little mini transmitters, mostly made by Marty, or we called them Marty, but I think that was more the brand name than anything. But anyway, but the Marty, the little transmitters, allowed us to go out into the field and slap up an antenna real quick to get back to the station. Calling in was definitely an option, but the Marty units just seemed to work just a little bit better. They're more direct communication, but sometimes you couldn't use them because you were too far out or something. But I digress. But that was the thing. So now thinking about in this modern era, I mean, the internet and social media is also like radio, immediate. You can easily go live on any platform. Awareness, however, is a different ballgame because you can have folks get signed up and follow and subscribe and set for alerts. Doesn't mean you're actually going to get them though. And actually, this conversation kind of stems a little bit from what I was talking about with my buddy Brandon with StormTrack 360 yesterday, is that the way, like when it comes to like if you put a link in your description on the Facebook and all the other ones, you're you're less likely to be seen, which is problematic when you're doing what he does in severe weather coverage, because what he does is immediate and needs to be out immediately for the sake of saving lives, keeping you safe for real. And he takes that very, very seriously, and I respect him a lot for that. So when I think about that and that immediacy thing, and then how there's no gatekeepers anymore, yes, there are, and they're the worst kind, in my opinion. Before, the gatekeepers were a matter of you had to audition to get into the spot, right? Well, now it's willy-nilly, and you don't have to audition to do this thing here. But if you misstep and doing a little thing that could take someone off platform of any of them, well, then your message just fades and dies. That's a problem. But you can't stop either. So, what do you do? Well, my thought is that led to where I am when it comes to providing any type of service with evergreen stuff is the immediate stuff. Keep doing. Nothing wrong with that. Keep doing it. But when you're really going to put some meat into what you're creating for like your advertising, marketing, and promotion, they're not dirty words, I promise. But when you're doing those things, if you think in a context of evergreen, meaning it's more timeless, whether they watch today or next year or about 2 years from now, to put things together that have a value that transcend the moment. And plus, that also gives you more value to give to your existing fan base. And who's your fans? Your customers. They're your fans. They love you, or they wouldn't be like, commenting, and following and sharing what you're doing and telling their friends. So it's still word of mouth advertising is still the best. And always a shout out to my buddy Aaron Anderson with Vigilant Inspection Services, because 9 times out of 10, when he produces something to put out to let people know that he's there, and also to connect with his existing base, is timeless stuff. It really is. His presentations and the information he shares will be good from now until we all live in some kind of truly weird matrix bubble that we're all plugged into the machine. But even then, somebody's going to have to make sure that you don't have rotten floorboards. I'm just saying. Those pods are heavy, from what I read. But anyway, a little food for thought there. And we're going to actually come back to that in just a second. The other thing, the virtual stump got an update, because as I was out yesterday and popping in to see my good friends Rick and Shirley over at Backstreet Trader, I love them to death. And if y'all are listening, blush, you should. But seriously, they're my bestest, and I love them. Period. Downtown starts on Stevenson. But anywho, at that point, I did get an opportunity to meet Truman Copeland. He is candidate for state representative for District 5, which covers right here in Boone County. Forgive my ignorance and remembering all the other area of District 5. My bad. But anyway, it's a matter of getting to know him. And so I was able to capture who he is, what he's running for, and why you should vote for him for the virtual stump, which now is on the Facebook page and the website. If you go to 72601life.com / virtual stump or click the link, then you can see everyone that I've got so far, because the goal is simple. I want to get every single person who's running for office for this March primary just captured with those 3 questions: who you are, what you're running for, and why people should vote for you. Why? Because it's a centralized location for people to actually get educated on who wants to represent them, and hopefully ignite you to get excited about a midterm election. This is even a primary, so turnout is historically low. But you need to get involved on the local level, especially because those are the people and things that impact you directly, no matter where you are. Your local elections totally matter. And this is my community project. It doesn't cost anyone to participate, and because it just needs to happen. And so it's worth it to me. But if you want to support the project, get my book. Tell your friends. Tell your enemies. I don't care. They may like it and you not. And that might be why y'all don't get along. Read the book. Y'all might find common ground. I don't know. But I do know that's what's happening there. So, and I've got plans, Lord willing, if the creeks don't rise more than they are today, to be at the Boone County Republican Party Committee's meeting Monday night at 6 o'clock at Western Sizzlin in Harrison. So if we haven't had a chance to connect for whatever reason and you're going to be there, let's talk and let's get that in the can. It'll be super simple, easy, and fun. Okay, I'll be sure to bring my microphones so when the plates and dishes are clanking around, we can hear you better. So that's that there. Now, going back to the topic of the day. The topic of the day, and it's so funny to me how many people forget the most important, valuable asset you have. I'm pretty sure you guys who are paying attention right now know this, that time is the only asset you truly have that is pure value. I mean, the value of time. Can't stress it enough because we never know how much we truly have. And that's why I know me as a young guy, I too was invincible and immortal. Nothing was ever going to break my stride, right? And then I get older and older and I start slowing down because of the effects of time. Thankfully, though, for me, in my career choice of broadcasting, I come to respect time maybe more than others because you were a slave to the clock. Every single second mattered. With that said, it's like I really, 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 really value time on that level. And then as I get older and I start feeling the pangs of time, and then I start seeing the people that I know and love have their time exhausted. And the older you get, kids, the more I hope you realize that. But hopefully you realize it before you do get older and you truly value your time because it's yours. And anyone that you interact with, that they respect your time and you respect theirs. And that is so remarkably important. Don't ever take it for granted and don't let anyone else take advantage of your time. Just saying, point blank. That's a truth. That's a foundation. That's a rock that I will stand on. Because again, we can lose sight of that. And that's a terrible thing to do, truly. Um, Going into the time management aspect of things, I like to streamline as much as possible, but I also know that commitment is a huge portion of time management and value. And so that's why in most of the things that I do, I really systemize so much, in some ways too much. But thankfully, that's why I have Alicia, because she's a good balance to make me speed up certain things that I may be going a little too slow on. Like, for instance, like I can come up with an idea and I will like come up with points A, B, C, D through Z, right? And then add one through infinity as far as steps. She will help me go, you really can get past these faster, or you can eliminate that one altogether. But I'm very meticulous. And the reason that I get meticulous in it is because I don't want to miss a beat. I don't want to miss a beat. I don't want to miss a step. I like checklists for like putting together like, a production rig that I need to have like at a shoot or something to make sure I've got all my bells. And there's nothing worse than if you've ever shown up somewhere that you need to do something, you're like, crap, I forgot the batteries, or damn it, where's that cord, or little things like that, and they happen. But checklists will save your life, right? But sometimes you can't overdo it. And so it's a balance. And then you wind up wasting time by overthinking about time. The conundrum. But that's okay. But never let anyone, ever um, devalue your time, ever. So I don't, not anymore. I used to. I've been notorious for it, but I won't do it again. And that's also why when it comes to like committing to things, like doing this podcast every morning at 8 o'clock, I wanted to get back out and talk to folks in general, right? But I needed to figure out what I was talking about. And so that was an evolving process. And that's kind of where we are today. And I came up with this three pillar aspect of my life. Three. The thumb got in the way while I go three. But to where I wanted to be able to hone in on what I was doing, not wasting your time or mine, and adding value to your life while being able to express myself, right? And so that's why I came up with the three pillars: the product, the service, and the project. And in those, three, it's a magic number. But if you know, Gen X. But it's like thinking and being able to hone in on that and being able to commit to something. I really had to put some serious thought into, well, when could I do it? I know years ago, if you guys who've been around for a while. Remember when Alicia and I were doing the weekly daily show, and we were doing it at 7 o'clock at night every Monday through Friday, broadcasting, streaming from, well, we were streaming and then rebroadcast the next day on Reynolds Media at his studios there on Sycamore, the old Woodland Heights Elementary. It was good, but man, that was the reason I don't now is because the 7 o'clock audience, that evening prime time that I truly love the most anyway. Um, it's a different time now for us to where like doing something in the evening now that Caitlin is a teenager and she's got things that she does and things, and so to give the commitment to the evening, I just can't do. And like I say, then it was pushing it, but we managed it okay. It wasn't a big deal, or as big a deal. But now figured that actually the morning, which I prefer doing mornings anyway, I personally do. And since I can do it from the comforts of home now, because the internet's faster, the cameras are simpler, the setup is easy and messy, I own it. It's easy enough to where once I wake up, I can roll out of bed, take care of the critters, and move forward with the thing every day, 8 o'clock. I can fire it off, and you and I get to have coffee together. So that's the thing about consistency and time and consistency. And like I say, the goal here is to like hit 30, 60 minutes a day, not just babble for the sake of babbling, actually have something important to say. And I would say bringing awareness to geomagnetic the problems with well, I say problems with the planet. The planet's doing it anyway. We're the only ones who have a problem with it. But those things you may not be aware of because all of the other noise out there. The AI stuffs, which are interesting, and I do hope you keep your thumb on some of how it's going, because it's there, man. I mean, it's not going away. It's a tool or a weapon. It just depends on how you want to use it. But awareness is key regardless. And it's not a fear thing for me, but I do know, and I can guarantee you from, again, 35 years of lived experience, any new tool that comes down the pike that can maximize profits and maximize, well, that's the big thing, really. But then also make certain aspects of life better, faster. It ain't going away. It's not. You're not going to see the manual transmission in an automobile come back fully instead of the automatic transmission in a vehicle. You're never going to see the microwave oven go away, although the air fryer is a good competitor for it, but the microwave is never going to go away. It's all part of us. You will never see like streaming television services go away. There's been an evolution of that. So the old may get replaced, but the new, that's it. And even though you start seeing the perils of the new, that's kind of a fun thought that a lot of folks have kind of dove down a rabbit hole on. And that's like with streaming services. I like them. They're convenient. You can have an entire blockbuster video right there in the palm of your hand, right? On demand, anything you want. Until they take it off, and then you don't have it anymore, even though you're paying for the subscription. Or even if you purchase a digital copy of something, say via Amazon, and that's the only one I really use. I don't do like YouTube movies or any of the other. For me, Amazon Prime has pretty much the lock on when it comes to like purchasing digital copies of movies and shows. Um, but you're just getting a license to watch it. And it's an open-ended thing. So at any given point, well, say you buy the digital version of Fantastic Four. Well, that's great. Until they decide they want to change the license agreement and you no longer have it. That's a bummer. This I'll do another little thing when it comes to going back in time and how those things that you used to be able to own, but you no longer own. There was always a license involved one way or the other. Like, specifically speaking, to like Adobe products. Adobe's Creative Suite back in the day was awesome. I had a little whistle there. But the Adobe Creative Suite was great. It was the CDs, the CD-ROMs would come in a pack, and there'd be like 5 to 6 of them in there, and it'd have all those programs, and you would put it in the CD-ROM drive of your computer and load them, and voila, you've got the whole suite. And it doesn't work that way at all now. It's all Creative Cloud. And I remember, well, I can't remember what year, but I remember when that first started with the subscription-based, cloud-based service, and I knew it was going to be horrible. In certain ways, it seems easier. Now that the internet is super fast now, great. Everything has been maximized for that. However, you don't own it. You don't own it. So in any given point, if they decide to change the rules of the agreement that you originally signed up to, well, guess what? You're just stuck. You can't adjust. And that's why all the subscription services are just a little problematic. They're convenient, but they're a little problematic. And now, and then think about it, because if you look at your machine, whether you're on a laptop, those of you who still have a desktop PC, where did the drives go? The CD, DVD, where did they go? Well, they're irrelevant now because everything is on the cloud and we work inside of the cloud space. We may download things locally, but on the whole, everything operates in the cloud. This is, again, not trying to be doom and gloom or just screaming about the coming dystopian future, which it could be if we're not careful. But it's just the way things have evolved, and they will continue to, and AI is no different. And the more in the advancements that I see, that you don't even have to look hard at. You might have to look frequently to keep up with what they're doing. But they're advancing so much. It's not going to take us out, human beings. I'm not worried about that Terminator future. Not at this point. A lot of people talk that up, but they still require one thing, and if they change this, it could be a different ball game. But right now, you will always be able to control AI because you can unplug it. Doesn't mean it won't disrupt everything if you did, but it's so far not going to send the robot agents to your door. Actually, we're kind of close to that too. It's wild, man. Again, 5 decades later, the things of science fiction and conspiracy are now the modern headlines, and here we are. Enjoy. So, I mean, I can push a button and make things for real. And the advancements there when it comes to 3D printing, or as it's called, what's the proper term? Additive manufacturing. Is fascinating. And it's something, again, if you don't have a 3D printer in your home, you should look into it, because I do not see that going away. And the way the advancements in that technology to where you can do like multicolor printing is fascinating and amazing and fun and very useful. Because again, it's like you'll see the picture in the mornings that I'm putting up of Flip the calendar. Very functional, very, very functional. And I like that. And then also if something breaks, you very well, okay, for example, my phone cover case thingy was broken. It was wore out. I used it a lot and it finally went through. And I haven't, bought into the hype of the planned obsolescence of getting a new model of the phone. So I just printed one and it works perfectly. And I can customize it in any way I want with colors and such. That said, I'm pretty tickled that I can do that. And filament cost-wise is 42 cents. Not that the money aspect is the biggest thing, but it doesn't hurt at all. And it gives you opportunity to do other creative things. Like I can use them to be able to create marketing and merchandise and things like that for the book, or other things, and for other people. I can do that. But it's pretty cool. It really is, and it's faster. And it's so funny. I've caught myself, and think about this. Think about how at one point in time when you would do something, you were like, man, this takes forever. But then you kind of lose sight of how things got better. And so that said, let me give you, okay, now I'm trying to think of something that would be a good, if you're not, what's a good generic thing? It's a good generic thing. Oh, well, actually, well, no. You know what? For some of you, you will remember when it came to logging on to the internet, all right, when it was the dial-up days, and most folks had Netscape, and you would click the button, or you had AOL, you would click the button, they would have to dial through the phone modem, and you would hear that funky little whatever it was, and then you would get logged onto the internet. Now there's no more of that. It's just there. So that lag time goes away, and then we lose sight of it. And so, in the span of 3D printing, the speed of machines and the better design of models and stuff like that, you can print something. And I'll just share something fun. Fun. Which one of the fun things? I got a lot of fun things here that I print because it's just fun. Another thing about this 3D space, if you're scared of it, again, there's a lot of fun things out there. And the reason that they exist is, number one, they're fun. Number two, they're a great training method. Just like in the old days when the PCs became normal and you had the solitaire game, The main primary purpose of the solitaire game was to help train you to use the mouse. You didn't think about that, huh? But that's what it was for. So you could get comfortable using the mouse. And now we don't think about it at all. Just saying. But anyway, when you look at something like this, okay, this bad girl, multicolored, which I've been practicing so I could paint inside of the Bamboo Lab studio to where I could print multicolor, right? She's a lot of fun. But I got to think, because like the print time on it with all the multicolors and everything, I think maybe all total was like 6 hours. And I remember at one point, I had to check myself that 6 hours. No, that's not so bad, because that would have been 12 hours before, and not really possible because you could do the multicolor printing. So losing sight of those things, and we do that. But we live in a world where you can see something like that, you can design something like that, and push the button, and it happens. Magic. Fascinating times. And nothing to be afraid of. Again, they're all tools that can be turned into weapons, but for the most part, look at them as tools. And keep an eye on the ones trying to weaponize. Just saying. That's it. Where are we at? It is 8:35. It's a rainy Thursday morning, November the 20th. 1 week away from Thanksgiving. And I hope you all are counting all your blessings and being thankful for everything you have in this crazy, kind of disconnected world. And again, just be good to each other. That's kind of a thing. It's like very important. And you're not lonely. If you're lonely, you're not alone. Please remember that. Seriously, reach out to folks. You gotta tell them everything, but at least start a conversation. And if you see someone who looks a little lonely, talk to them. They ain't gonna hurt you. And manage your time. And always value it. I'm out of here. I need to warm up on my coffee. Zoom of the Chewini is driving me nuts. And I gotta get back to printing stuff over here for somebody pretty cool that I met last night. That's a whole different ball game, and maybe a conversation we'll have soon. So I'm going to do this in-screen thing so it'll end properly and not cut me off. But anyway, let's do it again in the morning, 8 o'clock on Friday, the 21st.